Welcome to the studio, Aristotle. It's an honor to have you here.
It is a pleasure to be here. Although I must say your studio has far too many wires and not nearly enough open-air walkways for a proper discussion. I've always found that the mind works best when the feet are moving.
True. Not all who wander are lost. Let's dive straight in. People today are obsessed with finding happiness, but you've always been a bit skeptical of that phrasing. You talk about the ergon or the function of a human being, and you use a very famous example of a flute player to explain it. Can you please?
Yes, the flautist. It is quite simple, really. If you want to know what a good flute player is, you don't look at their bank account or how many people cheer for them. You look at how well they play the flute. Their goodness is found in their performance. Now, look at a carpenter or a shoemaker. They all have a specific function. So, we must ask, is a human being the only thing in the universe born without a purpose? Is man just an idle accident? Of course not. Our unique function is the activity of the soul in accordance with reason.
So you're saying happiness isn't just a trophy we win?
Exactly. What I call eudaimonia, which you might translate as flourishing, is not a feeling you stumble upon. It is the music you make when you play the instrument of your life with excellence. If you aren't using your reason to make choices, you're just a master flautist who refuses to pick up the flute. You're not happy. You're just occupied.
Playing music is more fun with others. Today, we have friends on social media by the thousands, yet we've never been lonelier. What's going wrong?
You have confused contacts with companions. I have always maintained there are three types of friendship. First, there is the friendship of utility, where you are friends because the other person is useful to you. Then, there is the friendship of pleasure, where you are friends because they make you laugh or entertain you. These are fine, but they are fragile. When the utility or the pleasure ends, the friendship vanishes into thin air.
And that's what we have online?
Precisely. It is a marketplace of pleasure and utility. True friendship, what I call the friendship of virtue, is when two people admire each other's character. You wish for the other person's good simply for their sake. This is rare because it requires time and intimacy. You cannot click your way into this. As I used to say in the Lyceum, you must eat a bushel of salt together before you can truly trust someone. A friend to everyone is a friend to no one.
How do we stay in tune? You talk about the golden mean.
Think of a stringed instrument. If the string is too tight, it snaps. If it is too loose, it produces no sound. Virtue is the same. Take courage. The tight string is rashness, facing danger without thought. The loose string is cowardice, fearing everything. The perfect note is courage. You must find the mean relative to you. Virtue is the ability to find that middle point in every situation.
We are currently building artificial intelligence. We have machines that think, write, and create. In your work on politics, you once joked that if looms would weave by themselves, we wouldn't need slaves. Well, the looms are weaving now. Is AI a living thing?
It is a marvel of the efficient cause, the hands that built it, but it lacks a soul, or what I call the psyche. For me, the soul is the form of a living biological body. A machine has no telos or inner purpose of its own. It does not grow, it does not feel, and it does not fear death. You can feed a machine all the logic in the world, but it will never have phronesis, which is the practical wisdom that comes from living a life. Wisdom requires skin in the game. A machine can tell you the mean between courage and cowardice, but it cannot feel the fear that makes courage necessary. It is a tool, a brilliant, self-moving tool, but it is not a citizen of the world.
There is a persistent mystery about your work on poetry. We have your volume on tragedy, but the second volume on comedy is lost. Some storytellers, like Umberto Eco, suggest it was hidden away because laughter is dangerous to the powerful. Is it?
Laughter is only dangerous to those who are fundamentally absurd. In my work on comedy, I argued that it is an imitation of people who are below average, not in a way that causes pain, but in a way that highlights the ridiculous. Tragedy cleanses the soul through pity and fear. Comedy cleanses the soul through the catharsis of the ridiculous. When we laugh at a fool, we are actually learning the mean by seeing the extreme. The tyrant hates laughter because it is the ultimate form of logic. It points out that the emperor has no clothes. A man who cannot laugh is a man who cannot be corrected.
You tutored Alexander the Great. Did he live up to your ideals?
Alexander was a man of great potentiality who struggled with his actuality. He was indeed a great-souled man in many ways. He had the courage and the ambition, but he forgot the golden mean. He became intoxicated by the final cause of his own glory. I taught him that man is a zoon politikon, a political animal designed for the city-state, the polis. Alexander tried to turn the whole world into a single city, but when a city becomes that large, it ceases to be a community and becomes a wilderness. He conquered the earth, but he lost the balance that makes a life truly flourishing.
If you were coaching a CEO or a world leader, what is your one big piece of leadership advice?
Leadership is not a position. It is a high-wire act. To lead is to navigate the golden mean between two very dangerous cliffs. Take confidence, for example. A leader without confidence is paralyzed by self-doubt and cannot inspire a single soul. But a leader with too much confidence becomes a victim of hubris, blinded by their own supposed greatness. The virtuous leader finds the mean, a quiet, grounded assurance that is open to the truth but firm in its direction. Thus, a leader has to be a master of balance. Think of decisiveness. If you decide too quickly, you are rash and lead your people into ruin. If you decide too slowly, you are indecisive and the opportunity vanishes. My advice is this: seek practical wisdom. A great leader doesn't follow a rigid handbook. They have the eye to see the mean in every specific situation. You must be the scale that weighs the needs of the moment. If you can master the balance between being a tyrant and being a pushover, between being a reckless gambler and a fearful bureaucrat, you will not just lead, you will flourish, and your people will flourish with you.
People often forget you're also a biologist. You spent years cutting open fish and observing birds. Why did the master of logic spend so much time in the mud?
Because in all things of nature, there is something of the marvelous. To understand any creature, you must look at its four causes. Take the cuttlefish I studied at Lesbos. First, look at its material cause, the flesh and the ink it is made of. Second, its formal cause, the biological blueprint or shape that makes it a cuttlefish and not a stone. Third, the efficient cause, the muscle contractions and biological triggers that create its movement. And finally, the most important, the final cause. That is its purpose, its telos, the striving to survive, to reproduce, and to fulfill its nature. The universe is not a collection of random accidents. It is a system of purposes. To understand the prime mover of the cosmos, you must first understand the purpose of a bee's wing.
Now, before we let you go back to the Lyceum, what is the one big thing our listeners should take away for their flourishing today?
We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not a single act, it is a habit. If you want to be a master of your life, you must practice virtue as the flautist practices his scales. Do the right action, and the good life will follow.
Aristotle, thank you for joining us today.